Good morning, everybody. I see a bunch of people in here singing jingle bells, saying we finally made it to Friday. We finally made it to Friday. And this is the last weekend before Christmas. The last weekend before Christmas. Hang on, Debbie, say it ain't so. And I never say that word. The word ain't. You know all the other words are on the table for me. Debbie says 34 degrees in Tucson, Arizona. What the hell is going on? Is there some sort of El Nino or El Nina thing going on? Because, what is this, December 16th? And in Oklahoma, I'm wearing big socks. I'm not saying it should be 90 degrees right now, but it shouldn't be near this cold. 34 degrees in Tucson. I bet the cactus aren't happy. Arizona is my jam. I love Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, there's my friend Jen Bug. Shani is in Utah. I'm not going to give out your address, Shani. They've been having some very scary weather. Very scary weather. Julesy made it in. Hello, Jules. Marisay. Now, Marisay, though, it is Saturday in Marisay land because she's from the land down under. I'm going to start singing that song in a second. So she's actually celebrating summertime right now. She can tell us the future. Do my eyes deceive me, or did Kat come in? We've been missing Kat. She's been busy working and with school. Kat has made it in. Hello, Karma. Bob is singing Jingle Bells. Angie Gibson, hello. Hello, Sam I Am. Carla, where you been? I haven't seen you in a while, Carla. Hello, JD. I do see some new names. Let's please hit the sub button and get reminded. That way you always know when we go live. Hello, Leo girl. Shep made it in. I see some people in here dancing away. Good morning, Deb. Sea Star. Yes, it's Friday. It's Friday. Kind of surprised I made it. It was getting to be a little touch and go for Brooks this week. I'm telling you. November Day made it to alive. What the hell is going on around here? It's cold in Cactus Land, and November Day is in alive. Hello, Maryland. Slim. Slim said it's 64 degrees in Southwest Florida. You know you're a hurting unit in Florida when it's 64 degrees. You guys have the big coats out, don't you? Y'all have the big coats out. Woo! So for those that weren't in, we had 2 shows yesterday. For Summerwell's yesterday morning, 18 months, if you can believe it. Oh, Kat read my mind. Then we went over the indictment about Leilani Simon in the case of little Quentin Simon. And I mentioned in the shows yesterday, members, look at those badges. Kat said, look at the lovely badges, you superstar. Which one is Kat's? Because Kat has been a member for a long time. I know that Pat... all right. I knew that, see, Kat became a member not long after Pat. It rhymes, too. So Pat's the first member. So she has a 12-month badge. And so it is Mariah Carey, Christmas Mariah. But it's the 1990s version. Okay, Kat said the long-term one. Yes, it's the 90s version. I'm not sure if she was married to Tommy Mottola or not at the time, but it was before Nick Cannon. So it's 90s Mariah. Christmas style. Thank you, Kat. She said this long. Okay, Mama K, she's a Mariah too. I'll tell you what, I got 3 Mariahs in here. So then yesterday, Pat decides to almost go on members strike and says she wants to be a gingerbread man. You just can't please everybody. Preschool Granny said that's my favorite song of Mariah. Yep. You got that one. Kat said Mariah. I had to look on my phone. Because I'm on StreamYard. So I can't see it. So I have to multitask. Okay, Mariah Cat? So a lot going on. What's everyone going to be doing this weekend? It is our last weekend before Christmas. We got to get our food, got to get those last minute stocking stuffers, last minute gifts. If you are a organized person, you're already done and don't have to go through all of that at all. I saw a comment after an after show comment this morning from Replay Crew who has been in the hospital. She said she was catching up on the shows. I feel very sorry for Replay Crew. Not only is she listening to my show, she's also in the hospital. So let's send out some warm regards to our friend Replay Crew, because it's no fun being in the hospital, and particularly during the holidays. Particularly during the holidays. I hate hearing that. Mama K said prayers to her. Yep, I hate hearing that. I am excited that there's so many Mariahs in here. What the hell? So I have 3 Mariahs. Kat, Pat, and Mama K. I was really excited to get that Mariah picture to load. And here comes Pat wanting to be a ginger man. What do you do? What do you do? All right, so we know what the show's about today. University of Idaho, massacre in Moscow. And as much as I don't want to do it, I am going to have to touch a little bit on Kaylee's family. I know it's going to upset a few people, and I really do not want to do any shows where I'm discussing the fact that Kaylee's family is upset with the communication and the rapport that they have with the Moscow PD and the FBI and the Idaho State Police. I planned on just ignoring it altogether, to be quite honest. Just work around that. They'll just have to figure it out. You know, they'll just have to figure it out. But in these interviews, things get slid in that need to be discussed in regards to the case. One thing that came up yesterday, just going to touch on it right now, and I'm going to ask you guys what you think about it before I get to the comments. I have the link posted, by the way. Yesterday, it was said, this is by Kaylee's mom, I'm going to show the interview in a second, that the coroner gave detailed, pertinent information to their 17-year-old daughter, Kaylee's little sister. Now, I posted the discussion in Discord, in the Facebook group, and on the members tab. And my question to you is, do you think this really happened? Or is there some sort of miscommunication between what was reported and the reporter? The daughter, the sister, is not the next of kin. And see, this was forged as a complaint. So it's going to have to be addressed. There will have to be some sort of corrective action done, right? She's not the next of kin. We know the coroner has spoke out. Not early on, she did. But I'm trying to figure out exactly how this happened. Obviously, a phone rang. But the coroner would know Steve's phone number. Is the daughter answering Steve's phone? How dare she? I wouldn't touch Steve's phone. Did she call the mom's phone and the 17-year-old answered and she just started talking? Why was this not done face to face? I think we're missing something big here, guys. I mean, what is this, like the Huxtable house, like back in the 80s, and they have a landline? The phone rings and they all jump on the damn wall? I don't know. But, I mean, we all understand communication 101, particularly on the phone. When we call, we ask who we're talking to. We don't just say, hey, Give Steve a message. Kaylee had gouges. I wouldn't quite call them stab wounds, and it nicked her liver and her lungs. No. She knew she wasn't talking to Steve. She knew she wasn't talking to the mom. So, of course, that's going to have to be addressed. Now this is just, I'm throwing this out here and I want to see what you guys think about it. Now that they have their own private investigator and they have an attorney, do you think there's any reason for them to continue to talk to the media? I do know very early on in this case, I want to say it was like November 15th or 16th. It was before the press conference. It was sandwiched in between, well, the murders and the first press conference. Olivia, the oldest sister, spoke to Inside Edition. She was very mad, very upset, rightfully so. Right, we all know that people grieve, and we know that people grieve differently. We know that there's anger and we got all that. We got all that. So she spoke to Inside Edition, and I remember thinking, hold on, sister, I don't think you know what's going to happen here. She said, we're not getting any information. Like I said, this was a month ago. She said, and our family is not going to go for that. I didn't want to say anything on the show because it seemed a little early on. But I thought, oh, lady, you don't know what's going to happen here. You're getting ready to be in a long line of families who over the years have said, the police just don't give us very much information. Well, they don't, because they're not going to share with you what they're working on. They don't, even though you're the family member, they just don't do it. They just can't do it. Now, even if the coroner thought she was speaking to the older sister, we still have a corrective action that needs to be coming down the pike, because the next of kin is not a sister. Sissy doesn't get to take memos like that. That needed to go to Steve or the mom, and I'm how come the other families aren't having these problems, guys? How come the other families aren't having these, guys? They're not having these problems. Do you hear Ethan's parents saying the coroner spoke to one of the triplets? No. Do you hear Xana's dad saying the coroner spoke to my other daughter? No. Maddie, I believe, was an only child. Do you hear Maddie's stepdad saying, how come they're not communicating with me? He spoke to the New York Post last week and he said, I hear from them every day, even if nothing's changed, which mainly every day they say nothing's changed. But he said, I hear from them every day. What's going on? Are they just picking on this one family? We have 4 victims. 4. One family's having a problem. If the other families were having these problems, don't you think that they would join forces with Steve and the crew and say, yeah, they're not talking to us either. They won't tell us anything either. Matter of fact, the coroner left a message with our neighbor to tell us about our child's wounds. No, nobody's having these problems except for them. I can't get around it. I can't get around it. Nobody else is having these problems. They know how to talk. They've all spoken to the media. So it's not like they're just the type not to say anything. And they're all grieving too. They're all grieving too. We don't know if one family is more public because we don't know these people. They've never been in this arena before. So we have one family that's having a world of problems, and we have 3 other families that have actually been very thankful to law enforcement and appreciate what they're doing for them. I don't know, just my take on it. We're going to go through it for a little bit because, like I said, I don't want to keep doing shows about how Kaylee's family doesn't like their communication. That's not a thing. I want to talk about the case. try to figure it out, which is impossible for me, hear you guys' theories, speculations, of course, and get through it because they're going to have to patch this up themselves. There's nothing we can do. So let's get to some comments. You guys hear this music and this video every day. It was made over a year ago by the one and only Mariah Cat. Death by Chocolate said so many people are blaming the news station as if a reporter would make something so horrific up. This is not going to help when it comes time to prosecute the case. Okay, so Death by Chocolate, love that name, by the way. I have been eating bag after bag of peppermint bark lately. Hence why I almost sound drunk on the show some days. It's a lot of sugar for Brooks. So this is in regards to the last show we did about, well, this case, where Steve spoke to Fox News Digital, and he said that the police are cowards. And that the coroner said, I wouldn't call them stab wounds, I would call them gouges. There was a lot in that interview, but the main thing that got everyone's attention, because Savannah and Hoda were even talking about it, that he called them cowards. Olivia, Kaylee's older sister, said, misinformed, fake news, didn't happen. Fox News doubled down, did happen. Story's still out there. And what he said was talked about on CBS Morning News, Good Morning America, The Today Show, CNN, News Nation, New York Post, you name it, it's out there. The attorney's not shutting it down because he knows Steve had this conversation. So we shouldn't be blaming the news station at all, because when you talk to the media, you have to remember they're not your friends. Kind of like when you talk to Mr. Policeman. Mr. Policeman wants to solve a crime. They're not there to be your friend. As far as future prosecution, that's out of my wheelhouse. I don't know. But I think the messier it gets, the harder they're making it on this DA. Alexis says, I don't think Steve really wants the public to know everything. He wants to know about what's going on with his daughter's death. That's all. It feels like they're giving the runaround when they talk. First they say there's no threat, then they say there's a threat. Now this I agree with, except for the Steve part. It is very confusing. First we have the mayor saying crime of passion. That was a good one. Then they say, no. Targeted and isolated. Don't get it twisted. Mr. Mayor's been drinking on the job, I guess. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Targeted and isolated. Then they said, well, but, it could be just, the house was the target. The house was the target. So we have had some convoluted statements and some circlebacks, I guess you could call it, from law enforcement. It seems like they got that straightened out. But as far as Steve just wanting to know details about his daughter's death, according to him, he paid for that information, so he has the details about her death. He gave a very detailed interview to Fox News twice. He spoke to Lawrence at Fox News. That's when he said he paid for the information. He said the means aren't the same. He basically said by process of elimination, he knew that Kaylee was in the bed and in the room with Madison. So he has the information. I think he truly just wants to know more about the investigation. I know there was a meeting earlier this week with his attorney and the police, and the attorney has been on a lot of different outlets that has said, well, no, they didn't walk away happy with the meeting at all because they wouldn't tell them what they know. So I don't think this is about public safety, and I don't think it's just about he wants to know more. And they're just not going to do that. Let me see. I have some scribbled here. And I don't know what the hell I was talking about. I don't even recognize my own note. So it must not have been important. Trinity said, I understand Steve's pain and anguish. I do. But you don't need to be Sherlock to understand how detrimental to this investigation the release of everything law enforcement has will be. Also, there are 3 more families that at the end of the day suffered the same loss that Steve and his family did. Same brutal way. Steve seems incapable of keeping confidential information to himself. He has not a clue how to handle the press. Steve, she says, they're not your besties. They are there to extract as much as they can to create their headlines and breaking news. Many lives were lost and many more are in jeopardy if this individual is not apprehended soon. Let law enforcement do their thing and seek mental and spiritual support. I know easier said than done, but your daughter will thank you for it. I absolutely love this comment. See, this is what I should have been saying all along, but I'm not as good as Trinity. I'm actually going to, in a few days, you guys will forget that was Trinity's, and I can take credit for that. But it's the truth. We have 4 families, 4 kids, college kids, brutally murdered. Brutally murdered. The media is not their friend. Their job is to get the juiciest headline they can. The juiciest headline they can. Now, I know that they have an attorney. They have an attorney. And this attorney is supposed to be helping them navigate through the media, which did not work. Get more information from the police, which did not work. But the thing is that Steve does not realize is that in due time, and it will happen, Brian Enton will move along. News Nation will move along. Ashley Banfield will not be talking about this case. Lawrence with Fox News, he'll move along. There's always another story. They watch their views. They watch their ratings. As they see people not as interested, they move along. When that happens, and they won't even return Steve's phone call, they won't even give them 30 seconds on the show. And basically, what will happen is this case will be updated just on the local news. He's going to be stuck with the police. Those are the only people that will still be there. The police are going to be there to the very end of this. All of these media outlets will start to fade away. So if I was this family, I would find a way to make peace with the police, if you know what I mean. Because all of this hooping and hollering that's going on right now is not going to get them anywhere. The attorney that they hired, he's a local attorney. He's in Moscow. Did I say it right, Lana? Moscow, Idaho. He's from Portland. He's kind of new to the area from what I'm understanding. He needs to think about how much dirt he wants to, how am I trying to say this? He might want to think about how much he wants to protest with the police and, with the DA in particular, because remember, the police, they have attorneys too, the prosecuting office. And the DA might have future issues with this attorney when he remembers that the biggest case of his career was made more difficult by that attorney. That attorney knows what's going on. He's had criminal cases. He knows that the police don't tell you everything that they're doing. He knows that. He knows that. But hey, he also bills by the hour. So what are you going to do? All right, I've got Jeannie backstage. I'm going to go through a clip real quick and bring her up here with me, and we're going to talk about this. Thank you, Sassy Patriot. Sassy Patriot, you got your bag, right? Your Crime Lines and Lies shopping bag? I thought you told me you did. We have merchandise, guys. That's what I'm asking her about. Sorry, I didn't mean to change the subject. Where did it go?
That comment from the latest of the do-it-yourself interviews that Moscow police are dropping almost every day, and again, asking and answering their own questions with no reporters allowed, and it's very important to point that out. Earlier, Christy Gonsalves, Kaylee's mother, said in an interview that her family learned about that vehicle at the same time and in the same way that everybody else did, with the press release.
Okay. Already I'm interrupting. She said, Kaylee's mom said they heard about the vehicle the same way everyone else did, and that's through the press release. Do you think that the police didn't call them before the press release because they have an attorney and the attorney is supposed to be the go-between? You know, some people, when you just don't know what to do. You're told we have bad communication, so I have an attorney. So you're dealing with the attorney, right? I don't know.
The victims' families have long complained about a lack of information from authorities. And on that front, Mrs. Gonsalves related to NBC a bizarre and disturbing incident involving the coroner, Kathy Mabbitt. She says that she herself has never spoken with this coroner, but that her 17-year-old daughter has. That would be Kaylee's teenage sister. She says the coroner spoke on the phone with the teenager and gave graphic details of how her sister was murdered when asked. To help break all of this down, I want to bring in Bobby Chacon. He is a former FBI special.
I don't know what the hell is going on. What? Okay, so the coroner calls, obviously, she's not going to call the 17-year-old. She called either Steve or Kaylee's mom called their phones, correct? Like I said, unless it's the Huxtable house and they still have a landline on the wall and it's the 17-year-old happened to answer it. Why would she give that information in grave detail to the 17-year-old? Why would she just take the 17-year-old's word that she would pass the message on? I think we're definitely missing something here. There's something really weird here. This is really weird.
Special agent and expert in criminal investigations. He also happens to be an attorney. Bobby, thank you for being here. So much to go over with you. First, about that issue where the coroner tells a 17-year-old sibling what exactly happened to your sister. That doesn't sound like protocol to me.
No, it certainly is very bad practice. I've never heard that before. Talking to a minor family member, sister of a victim. I mean, that's poor practice. I mean, all communication should be consolidated. It should be one point of contact with the authorities to the families. They should be updated on a regular basis. And this way, they're not going to 3 or 4 different sources. The coroner's office, you know, and I get it. The coroner's office operates separately than the police department, separately than the prosecutor's office. But they all got to get on the same page, and they've got to put one person in point of contact that can update the families and keep the families in the loop.
Would it be protocol for the coroner to be able to speak to parents if parents wanted that information? I mean, they're adults.
Yeah, sure. I think that I've heard that happen before, but again, you do it in conjunction with the investigators because obviously there's stuff maybe in the coroner's reports that you don't want getting out, even to the family, at least at this point in the investigation. So I think it's always good practice to coordinate between the coroner, the investigators, and the prosecutor.
Okay, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm getting a hint in his voice that he's doubting this story. I don't know why I think that. It's just my opinion, but he seems to be pretty shocked too. He said they would do that in conjunction with law enforcement who would talk to the parents. He seems to be a little dumbfounded, as we all are. As we all are. This is not a little thing. This is going to have to be addressed. And if the coroner did do this, the coroner shouldn't be the coroner anymore, because the coroner cannot be trusted with delicate information. And there would have to be some sort of corrective action. There would have to be. This guy seems like he doubts it, okay?
That are all on board already, and they all know each other. I'm sure they've all talked at some length together. So I think that it's good practice to be coordinating all of this information together, so that you don't get this lack of information or different information, conflicting information going out to the families.
So the other issue Brian was able to break today was that manager of the store said Kaylee and Maddie and her friends were always in the store. He said I'd just seen them 3 weeks prior to their death, and he said that it was a regular conversation he had about the stalker. That the girls were worried, that Kaylee was worried, that they actually would walk in groups because Kaylee was worried that she would change her behavior, especially downtown and at that Corner Club bar, which is the last place they were before the food truck, before coming home and being murdered. And yet the police told us that they'd run every lead they could on the stalker and couldn't corroborate it.
Okay, so they're talking about the stalker again, and I'm going to play that clip in a little bit. This clip, Ashley Banfield, is she's got a lot going on in this one. We go from coroner to stalker again. Janice, she said, agreed. At trial, this could be evidence. Another problem I have with this, the coroner is a damn attorney. The coroner knows. You can't give that to a 17-year-old. Maryland, Idaho News, the qualifications for coroner are downright basic. In Oklahoma, too, it's like 650 hours. By now, I'm a coroner times 3 just from doing this damn show. You guys are too, just for listening.
But there's Brian. He found a manager who said, I saw these girls all the time. I talked to them all the time.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if they're parsing their words, but I think they probably have a lot of uncorroborated, or what they think is uncorroborated information on stalkers or stalking behavior. It would be very uncommon for college-age girls on this kind of campus who are very fun-loving and outgoing not to have the interest of guys that they're not interested in. And so I think that, beyond the 3 victims that are deceased here, they have friends. And it would really shock me if the police didn't have the same information from some of their extended, circle of friends. Because as you said, they've been talking among each other like this. They've been talking to that store manager. It's very conceivable that other friends knew about this behavior and knew about, this person or persons. And the police are, maybe they're running out a bunch of leads that they haven't found a second or a third corroborating source for. But it's my thought that they probably are following this stuff. They just haven't gotten enough of it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television.
No, I already know how to find it, but thank you, Ashley. I'm saying welcome to Janice. Welcome, Janice. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I did answer H. I typed to H. H said, Brooks, why are you fueling rumors? This is from News Nation. This is from Kaylee's mama, who said the coroner gave this information to her 17-year-old daughter. That's not me fueling shit. I've got Jeannie and Lana backstage. Let's see what they think about all this. Good morning, Jeannie. Good morning, Lana. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning, Brooks. Good morning, Jeannie.
Good morning.
I'm doing well this morning.
Good. What's the weather like? I saw Jeannie's weather. It's very snowy.
Yeah.
What's
The roads
weather
are
like?
pretty bad.
I'm still in California till I'll be in Idaho next week, but I'm learning that Southern California weather this time of year is a lot like Idaho fall weather. It's very overcast, rainy, windy, cold, but no snow.
Thank God. All right, I'm going to look at this comment real quick. Erica said, the mother said the daughter said she wanted to know. Then what are you doing complaining to News Nation about it? I don't think the need to know is any reason for the coroner to tell her. And if that's how it went down, or Kaylee's mother misspoke, it shouldn't be on the news. This can get the woman disbarred. This can get the woman fired. This can cause a lot of problems.
Yes.
This is a dangerous game we're playing, and it's not cool at all. There's 4 families to consider, and only one is having a problem that we know of. The other 3 could just be like, look, we're grieving. We don't have time to fight with the police right now. So what do you 2 think about that?
Well, I want to, yeah, exactly on that point. Is something I wanted to comment on, because before you started this clip, Brooks, right at the beginning, Ashley says something to the effect of, it's very important to point out that the families are learning information from the press conferences. And it's like, well, no shit, Sherlock. The police don't often, if ever, tell the families all the details or give them play-by-plays, even if they're briefing them daily. And I know this firsthand from the Vaughn family.
Yep.
There have been times that information was said in a press conference in front of those parents for the first time. And what
we
they were
spoke
told
about it on Wednesday, that
Yep.
Brandy Neal did not know that there were people in her neighborhood not cooperating till she
Correct.
heard it at the press conference from JD Huff.
Correct. And that's because the integrity of these cases is vital and more important than the families getting a play-by-play. And that's sometimes hard for us to understand outside looking in, but Ashley Banfield should have known that. Her making that comment about, oh, it's so important to point out that the families are just finding out during the press conferences. Please, you should know that, Ashley Banfield. You're a professional working in media. Police don't always tell the families everything.
It seems like Ashley Banfield was a better reporter before she had LASIK surgery. You know, she always had really cool glasses and everything. She almost looked like Sally Jesse Raphael. She always had really cool
She did.
specs.
I didn't even think about that.
Ever since she lost the glasses, it just kind of seems like all journalistic common sense went out the window.
She did. She did. However, you know, I kind of agree with what you were saying before in that, and as well as some of the other commenters, that if this one family wasn't out there so publicly, you know, maybe they would be getting more information behind the scenes. You know, maybe law enforcement is worried about what this family may say. And if the coroner, I agree with you, Brooks, if the coroner's making comments to a minor child about the victim in any capacity, that's an elected office, is it not? I mean, that community needs to really look into why this person is speaking on camera and talking to the minor children of the families regarding the victims.
Absolutely. And News Nation is teetering on being a tabloid. They're a couple of steps away from being a Daily Mail type of thing. So maybe they need to back it up a little bit. Because, yes, Ashley Banfield knows that the police do not give all the information to the families. She knows that.
And I mean, it's obvious that every information that they get, they're on the news talking about it, which is not good for the case at all.
No. Well, I mean, it would be bad for the case if law enforcement was caving to social pressures, but they're not. They're keeping things close to the vest. Karma, I don't know what you're talking about. You said, but all these YouTubers do it. So what is the difference? How do you get mad at a father who was doing it, but YouTubers do it? I'm not asking for more information. I'm saying keep the integrity of the case like I do in every case. Do I want to know every little thing that's going on? You better believe I do. But do I want the greater good of the case like a psychopath off the streets? Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm not angry myself, personally speaking for myself, on some of the comments I made in chat about the dad speaking to the media and him being so vocal. You know, I don't mean that to be judgmental, and I'm definitely not angry at the family, because I have children that is the age group of these 4 kids, and I've never in my life been through anything like this and have no idea how I would handle it. I just, you know, outside looking in, it's my opinion that if this one family wasn't being so vocal, then maybe there would be more information shared. Not that it makes me, not that I'm mad at him for doing it above, you know, what YouTubers are doing or anything like that. Just kind of a, you know, perspective on the situation.
Yep. H said, Brooks, why are you mum when your fellow true crime junkies are making up stories and harassing the parties involved in the case? Because I'm not law enforcement and I'm not the YouTube police. Said, don't forget true crime creators are hampering the investigation too. And law enforcement came out and said something about that. I don't talk about other creators on here. I don't talk. I don't care what they do, and I don't have time to keep up with them. There's 24 hours. There's 24 hours in my day as well, H, and I can't. I don't have 24 hours to keep up with whatever. The internet is a big ass place. I can't keep up with all of it.
I mean, mostly where we get all our information is on the news. I mean, if it's out there on the news, then we're going to get the information, right?
That's what I talk about on here. It's that this is my channel, this is my platform, and I talk about basically what the police are putting out.
Exactly.
Whether it comes directly from them in a press conference or it's relayed through the media. I don't run with what is being said on Facebook and stuff like that.
No.
And what people do with their platforms, I don't do a commentary channel like that.
No,
There's other channels that do, but I don't.
No. And when you're on, you have your facts.
Until they change the facts on me. Okay, speaking of facts, let's hear what Steve's attorney says to us about the meeting that they had with the police on Monday. No surprise, they did not walk out with the information that they wanted.
What happened? Well, we had a meeting with the investigators on Monday. The investigators, the prosecutor, Chief Fry was there, as a few other people in the room. And, our theme going into that was accountability and communication. Accountability, meaning that a lot of the information that had gotten out had been inconsistent and confusing, not only to the families, but also to, I think, the public. You had the coroner making statements. You had the Bill Thompson, the prosecutor, making statements about targeting, and then that was walked back by Chief Fry in another statement. You had Art Bedke, within a day or two, making statements about crime of passion, and so a lot of inconsistencies in that. Consistency promotes trust, and so part of our theme going in was that there needs to be some accountability within the investigation about having really one voice. And that they made a lot of decisions during the investigation to do things or not to do things regarding help, reaching out to the public and having the public help them during the investigation. And we wanted some answers to there. I came in with 5 pages of answers of questions, and we walked out with not much being answered at all.
Okay, so we're not surprised here, and he doesn't look like he's surprised. Okay, it's not like his eyes are bulging out of his head and he cannot believe this happened to him. I had all these questions. I was ready to have them answered. We walked out and we didn't get our questions answered. Is anyone shocked here? Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. I feel bad for Steve because his exact words, well, I say exact. His words were, I'm getting an attorney, so then they are forced to give me the information. Well, they had their meeting on Monday, and you just heard from the attorney. They wanted in one hand, and they were told to shit in the other. They walked out without the information that they wanted. Is anybody surprised that this happened?
Not at all.
No.
I'm not surprised at all. In fact, I think if anything, if the family's attorney is wise and good at their job, then they're going to advise the family to stop interviewing on media publicly and work through them, etc. And it really, I just want to comment, like, this guy, look at his face, he's so stricken with grief, he's so sad, he's so confused. The family they don't know what they're doing. They've never been through something like this. I mean, unless you've been there, you don't know what you would do. And so the fact they have retained an attorney, I hope that attorney does step in and kind of, navigate this a little bit better for them. But I'm not surprised that they did not get that information, because again, integrity of the case is more important than what they want to know.
Maybe the attorney should do what he's paid for, and maybe he should give sound advice to Steve, which is, look, we're going to go in there and we're going to talk to the police. And odds are they're going to say, because this is an active and ongoing investigation, we can't give you details. We are going to tell you the same thing that we're telling the public, which is be vigilant, because we have not caught whatever psychopath did this. Anyone in that area needs to know that this person has not been arrested. This is not a secret. What detail is going to make them understand that there is a person out there that is a dangerous person? There's a dangerous person out there. I mean, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm in south of Tulsa. I know it. I'm not going to plan a vacation to Moscow, Idaho right now. No way. Because there is somebody that needs to be arrested. They're not being secretive about that. No way. JD said the family just wants clear communication and trust from the police, not more info. That's not what they said. They want more info. They want more information. They want more information. That's what this whole meeting was about. They walked out. They did not get the information they wanted.
The second part was communication. They've done a really poor job of communicating with the Gonzalez family, and most of the families. And so we wanted to make sure that they were now aware that what our expectations were, that it's the investigation, the families, and then the media. The Gonzalez family should never hear anything on a press release or social media release or anything like that we don't know of first. Yeah, I mean, I hope they're receptive. I hope that they are mature enough to be able to take some criticism and understand that some of the expectations and that we have. And I wasn't popular when I left that meeting, Brandy Mean.
Now, he did indicate that he's taking them at their word when they say that they're hopeful the investigation is moving forward. He said it's not his job to be critical, but to merely express concerns that the family is having. Having said that, we do have to talk about his stance on the coroner. I'm talking about Latah County Coroner Kathy Mavitt, because according to Steve Gonsalves, Mavitt revealed very gruesome details of the killings to him, and that she herself, we know, has spoken to the media talking about the toxicology reports, the extreme nature of the case, the possible murder weapon. Mr. Gray was not too happy about her comments.
Well, I mean, I have issues with the coroner. Number one, expressing all of her opinions over the media at, I think, at inappropriate times, number one. Number two, making a personal phone call and describing graphic details of what she discovered and what she to the family, I don't think was beneficial in any way. I don't think she did it out of a place of spite. I think she did it because she was, trying to give them more details. But once you hear certain details, it's not helpful to the family and certain things.
Okay, so I'm confused again. So they're upset that the coroner gave them specific details. Now, he represents Kaylee's family. He did say the other families, but the other families aren't complaining. I went through a New York Post article the other day from Maddie's stepdad that said we hear from them every day. But now he's saying the coroner should not have told them these specific details. How do they know what to share with Kaylee's family and not to share? Because he's saying, well, some things they shouldn't tell the family because it's so hard on them, but they want to know more. What? I don't know. So what is it? It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Let's listen to that again.
For one. Number two, making a personal phone call and describing graphic details of what she discovered and what she to the family. I don't think was beneficial in any way. I don't think she did it out of a place of spite. I think she did it because she was, trying to give them more details. But once you hear certain details, it's not helpful to the family and certain things. So, and I.
Okay, so this is the attorney. This is the attorney that was hired by Kaylee's family, by the Goncalves family, to get more information from the police. Now he says it's not helpful to the family to give them this information, but they seriously just had a meeting with the police on Monday to get more information because they're not happy with the communication, and they're unhappy because that meeting did not give them information that they wanted. Can somebody help me here? Did I say that right? Because I'm confused AF.
I think you did say that right. I'm also confused by that. There is a little bit of them, contradicting themselves in their position right here. And he just kind of validates that with that statement. And at the same time, I agree that the delivery of the information, her calling over the phone and giving the details to the 17-year-old, absolutely unacceptable method for delivering that information to the family, 100%. And if he would have said that, if he would have said it's how she delivered the information to the family, which he did, but he kind of made it more about just not getting enough information. And then, like you said, later complains, we got too much information, but we're not getting enough information over here. So they are contradicting their own position.
Because what the coroner is telling them is graphic, and I'm sure very painful to hear. The police don't have a fairy tale. They have a very, very disturbing picture on their end too. So
I think a lot of this, I believe that Steve is more doing all of this out of anger. He's very mad, and I believe this is why he's doing what he's doing. He wants to find this guy. This is his daughter.
Well, this is not something that he's ever been through before, and God forbid anybody go through it, and God forbid he ever go through it again. So they're going to have to decide what information are exactly they wanting, because they went to the police on Monday. He brought his lawyer. They're not going to give him the information they specifically asked for. They say it's for public safety. Those were his words, not mine. But then there's a complaint that what the coroner told them was too much for them to handle. I don't know. Let's just see what he says.
I could go on and on about the coroner. The idea that she's a criminal defense attorney at the same time that she's a coroner, I think could present a conflict down the road. And the fact that she's continuing to defend people during this investigation. And she's done it before. I mean, the fact is that there was she was involved in she was a coroner on a murder investigation in Moscow years ago, and she also was the defense counsel on the case, which blows my mind.
Wow.
Yeah, that conflict of interest could be a problem for sure. That case that he mentioned, we believe, is the James Curtis Leonard case.
What the hell?
Wow. Yeah.
Talk about a conflict
He's right.
of interest.
That's huge. I would be so concerned as well, because that's grounds.
Yeah.
The person who did this to these kids could use that.
Yeah.
And get off.
Huge conflict of interest. God. Huge.
Wow. I mean, I knew she was an attorney and that she worked in defense, but I did not know that she's currently practicing And I did not know that she'd been a coroner and a defense attorney in a previous case. Wow. She should not be in that office at all.
No. No.
I mean, small towns do things small town ways, but I just they're gonna have to. They just need to get her out of it altogether and just let the medical examiner handle it. Done.
I
Yeah.
agree, Brooks.
Yeah.
I agree. Right there.
I agree.
Done.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, she's not going to be on the stand. They want to hear from the medical examiner.
Yeah.
They don't
Exactly.
want to hear from the coroner.
Yep. Leave it on the ME's desk and be done with it.
Yeah, I would just get her out of the equation altogether.
Yeah. Definitely.
Case, you can definitely check it out to see Mabbitt's role there, but he wasn't shy about criticizing her actions. Now, he did say that law enforcement hasn't indicated a suspect to the family, that they're keeping things close to the vest, including about that white Hyundai Elantra that police had asked the public's help in identifying. They said it was near the crime scene at the time of the killings. Anything anybody knows about the car or the occupants of the car. I will tell you this, according to Ann Jeanette, the Moscow County Police informed her that they are getting useful tips on that Hyundai Elantra.
Well, through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
And Mr. Gray finally said that the reason a reward hasn't been put out for more information is because police were concerned that it's too early in the investigation to do that. That if they put out a reward, there could be a flood of non-useful information and leads. And as we continue to report on this case, we encourage anyone with useful information to call the tip line, the Moscow County.
They must be getting flooded with tips for them to say, it used to be whatever, call us. It could be the smallest thing. Now they're like, if it's useful, let us know. Big difference. If it's useful.
Yeah, that was very particular. I caught that as well.
It's kind of like they go from, it could be the smallest thing. And then suddenly it's like, look, it better be worth a shit before you tie up my time because we're getting pretty stretched here.
Wow. That was kind of a mind-blowing little reel there, Brooks. I don't know what to think about all of that.
Well, that's for people with bigger pedigrees and paychecks to figure out, if you know what I mean.
Definitely. Well, I'm gonna drop down in case anyone else wants to come up. Thank you so much for letting me comment and join you today.
Well, as always, beautiful avatar. Love it, Lana.
Yeah, I got a picture on here for you. I don't know how, but I did.
I don't know what's going on. A lot of people who've had avatars for a long time, they've had their picture, their sticker, whatever you want to call it. They don't have them anymore. I don't know what's going on. It could be a strange.
Everywhere else, it just links up to my Google account and it has the same image as that, except for my iPad. So I'm blaming it on Apple.
Well, go figure. All right. Now then, let's have a round of applause for Lana. She came up to say hi to us. I need to wish her good luck this weekend, finishing up the last minute things we have to do the weekend before Christmas. So, this guy who works at the vape shop spoke out to Brian Enton yesterday. I don't know where these people have been for the last month. I'm just going to leave that alone for a minute. But he is talking about Kaylee did indeed have a stalker. According to the police, they can't find a stalker. According to the police, they have been looking into this stalker. They did ask Kaylee's parents about the stalker. Steve said, well, they're pretty girls wherever they go. They get attention. So let's hear what this guy says from the vape shop about the stalker.
So Keely and Maddie would both come in very happy, very friendly. You know, they always were just such a smile on their face. Just like, pretty much you would say they're the light of the world, pretty much. You know, always happy, go lucky. They always came in just chatting. They always came with a group, like I said. They probably, I'd say 4 or 5 girls at most, all the time. They come in together. And I made a joke about it earlier. It was like, you know, hey, you know, coming together and stuff like that. You know, just, you know, it's nice to see you girls trying to stay safe. One of them more or less openly says, oh yeah, we've had a friend of ours be stalked before, so this is kind of why we all travel in a group like this. And just was it Kaylee who said that? Do you remember? No, it was Maddie who actually said that. So Maddie said it, and it was kind of like more mentioning, like motioning to Kaylee too, like who was right next to her. So you could tell that like they obviously all were trying to keep Kaylee safe, you know, and be there for her as good friends. And then yeah, to know that few weeks later, now I won't see them, you know, anymore, anything like that. So it's crazy.
How long before the murder about was that?
3 weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks beforehand, because I was telling them I hope they had a good Thanksgiving break and everything like that too, because I didn't know if I'd see them again. So with a lot of the times with the kids, with the way after the pandemic, some of the kids leave in waves. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to see you this weekend or not. Hey, hope you have a great, you know, Thanksgiving with your family. And that was the last I saw them.
Did they elaborate any more on the stalker comment?
They more or less kept making the comment that it always seemed to happen either by the campus or down on Main Street. And the last time the Kaylee more or less made it sound like it seemed like it was down on Main Street, and that the person was coming from like around the Corner Club area, and then like as far as I remember, it's the guy who ended up like trying to go and talk to her, and then he gave up on it and he ended up walking away. So she thought she was being stalked up to a certain point, then looked behind her and he was no longer behind her. So
I just want to make sure.
Okay, so she thought now this is the vape shop guy who had this conversation when the girls would come in and then they would leave. I'm confused as to if he overheard this conversation or they particularly wanted him to know about the stalking. He said she thought she was being stalked, but it was somebody walking behind her. Let's listen to that again. Now I see why the police aren't concerned. Hang on.
Go and talk to her, and then he gave up on it and he ended up walking away. So she thought she was being stalked up to a certain point, and then
okay, so this guy, whoever this guy is, was trying to talk to her, but then he wound up giving up and going away, but she thought she was being stalked. I think that's just somebody trying to flirt with somebody. That's not necessarily stalking. What do you think, Jeannie?
Yeah, I agree. Maybe he wanted to talk to her or, you know, say hi to her or something like that. You know, I agree.
This guy is more of a stalker than the stalker because he knows a lot of information. All he's got to do is sell a freaking vape, but he knows this whole story. So here we go. Yeah. This is crazy. Where's Jeremy when you need him? I miss Jeremy.
Didn't look behind her and he was no longer behind her. So
I just want to make sure I get it right. So yeah. Tell me again exactly what you remember.
Just more or less, I made a joke about them being in a group, and they just said, yeah, you know, one of our friends motioning to Kaylee that she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not.
So they made a joke, and they motioned, I guess, to Kaylee and said, because she's been stalked before. I got to hear this again. What the hell is this?
Mm-hmm.
I've never been stalked, so I wouldn't know. I'm not that cool. Nobody stalks me.
Group, and they just said, yeah, you know, one of our friends motioning to Kaylee that she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not just
that had people constantly following her around because she'd been stalked before. So if you get stalked once, do you get stalked more?
I don't think so.
Why does he bounce around like this? I'm getting dizzy. How the hell does this happen? What the hell is going on here? Okay, so we got to listen to this again.
That she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not.
She'd been stalked recently, so that had people constantly following her around. Now, have the police heard this story? Have they collected themselves from laughing their ass off? What the hell is he? He's jiggling.
Where has he been for the last month? I would like to know. Why are all these people coming out now after a month? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. Why is every vape store guy the same? When they start coming out later, yeah, I do. My eyebrows raise. It's like it's Jody Sue
yeah,
part 15.
yeah.
Vapey Sue. Vapey Sue is his name.
Promotion to Kaylee that she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not just a one-off thing. That this is apparently something that Kaylee had tons of issues with. Apparently, she always had somebody who's constantly walking behind her like that.
So now we have something different.
Yeah.
She always has someone that's constantly walking behind her like that. Now then, let me don't worry about me, guys. That happens to me too. Like when I'm at the grocery store, there's people constantly walking behind me. When I'm pumping gas, there's people behind me. When I walk into the store to get my Diet Dr. Pepper with 1 squirt of vanilla and 1 squirt of cherry, not cherry piss, there's people constantly walking behind me.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of happens to me too. I don't.
So this happens to you too? Does anyone else ever have people behind them when they're walking? Have you noticed that it constantly keeps happening? The fuck? Have you noticed that it constantly keeps happening? Oh my gosh. This is a bigger problem than I thought.
Yeah.
Tell me again exactly what you remember.
Just more or less, I made a joke about them being in a group, and they just said, yeah, you know, one of our friends emotioning to Kaylee that she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not just a one-off thing. That this is apparently something that Kaylee had tons of issues with. Apparently, she always had somebody who's constantly walking behind her like that. So and it was more so at nighttime when they were at the drinking and stuff like that. So I asked them, like, is it at school?
Okay, so it also happens. It also used to happen
At night.
at night when they were out drinking. Now, I can tell you that for sure does happen because you'll be in a line at the bar to get a drink. Then you walk back to your booth or your, you know, however you do it, and you're going to have people, you know, they're going to be behind you.
Yes, of course.
Now, I don't know if he knew this, but the people that are in front of her could possibly think that Kaylee was stalking them because she is behind them following them. The hell is going on here?
Cool. And she's like, no, when I'm at night, going out to the bars or coming back from the bars. And again,
So leaving the bar or going back into the bar, we're also having this problem.
Yes, people are behind her.
Huh. I'm no detective, but I think I've got this one figured out.
down that way, it's
She
there.
specifically mentioned the corner club.
Not the corner club, but just in that general direction and stuff like that. So
not specifically the corner club, which is where she was the night before she got murdered, but just that general direction. So she got stalked when she just went that general direction as well. And it seemed to be a constant problem. Anywhere she went, there were people behind her.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone is stalking everyone.
the only reason I would assume the corner club is because that's the only bar that's down in that area anymore now. So we used to have two, one was CJ's and then the corner club. It's just corner club now. Then
Well, that makes sense. There's only one bar open in that area that he pointed. So the stalking was, it might not be stalking. It could be people going to the only bar that's open in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and it didn't happen at school at all.
No, it happened when she's walking into the vape shop, it seems to be generally populated areas. She was having this stalking problem, according to the vape shop guy.
Just around the main street, he said. Just around Main Street.
And going in and out of the only bar that's open in that direction.
Yes.
Could maybe everybody be going to the bar? A lot of people at once? I mean, the bar can't keep serving alcohol if just one person by themselves goes in. We would have a big problem.
Yeah, most definitely.
What the hell?
like that. So, and it was more so at nighttime when they were out there drinking and stuff like that. So I asked them, like, is it at school? And she's like, no, when I'm at night, going out to the bars or coming back from the bars. And again, living down that way,
Did she specifically mention the corner club?
another corner.
I wish Brian Inton would ask him yet another question. Did she notice a line of people behind her when she would go into public bathrooms? People that drink at the bar, your bladder seems to act up during those times. I need to know about bathrooms.
Corner club just in that general direction and stuff like that. So the only reason I would assume the corner club is because that's the only bar that's not in that area anymore now. So we used to have two, one was CJ's and then the corner club. It's just corner club now, then a whole block before it mingles. So
How many times did you see Kaylee and Maddie? How many times did they come to the store?
I'd say, now I'm trying to think back in my head, I've only saw them maybe like 6-7 times total. So I'd say probably since the start of this beginning of this year.
So since January.
So she's been stalked since January of last year. This is, well, dear God. Let's see what the police have to say about this. Hold on one second.
We have heard mention that Kaylee stated she may have had a stalker. Detectives have been looking into that and to this point have been unable to corroborate the statement, although we continue to seek information and tips regarding that report.
Well, they epic fail on the police because it seems that they weren't looking too hard because everywhere she went, there was somebody behind her.
Well, I mean, excuse me. She was a pretty girl. I mean, I could actually see, like, you know, somebody maybe not stalking her, but, you know, trying to get to talk to her and, you know, make a friend with her, something like that. You know.
Well, there, I didn't see, I mean, none of the victims were hit with the ugly stick. How come just Kaylee was stalked everywhere she went?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I can't compete with a 21-year-old Jeannie, but I actually have the same problems as Kaylee. When I go places, there are people behind me. Well, I think we can put that to rest for now, guys. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to get through that. Props to Brian Inton. I don't think he's going to get any awards for that interview, and I don't think that interview really put a dent in the case, but I'm glad we all got through it together. I really do. Don't be surprised if we don't have to revisit this a few more times, okay?
I think he could have asked a little more questions. Like,
well, I have a question. If this is against the law, how were any of us born? Glenjamin said, how's a guy supposed to meet a gal anyways? Exactly.
Yes.
I want Jeremy back. I do. It's too much for me. Well,
Oh my God.
But again, the police say they have looked into all of this, and I don't think they've looked into this story in particular. And God, I hope they don't, because they've got other things to do. Safe to say that we're not looking for a stalker. We're not looking for a stalker.
No, the police did say that they did check that out, and there's nothing. They haven't found anything to say that she was stalked.
They've said that on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
So I think we're good there. Now the vape shop guy does paint a different picture, that she not only has one stalker but dozens. Now then, when you hear about the dozens of stalkers that she has basically everywhere she goes, because there was always someone behind her, that might be a reason they're having such a hard time solving this case. So somebody might want to get this info to her family. who probably is upset because they had to hear this on News Nation and nobody personally called them and told them that the vape shop guy said everywhere Kaylee went, there were people behind her. I don't know. What did Jody say? I didn't know Jody was in here. Jody Blonde. Where did Jody Blonde? Everyone's saying, oh, Jody Blonde. She was born with a stalker. She said, my twin brother stalked me right out of the womb. Jody Blonde was dealt a bad hand just the minute she was born. She had a stalker. Diggler said it wasn't just one stalker, it was hundreds. Exactly. We have I see what the problem is now. I get it now. I get it. We have a big problem. All right. So yesterday, Moscow PD went into a little further explanation about the white. I'm just going to say white car. Okay. I'm just going to say white car because I've been getting lots of pictures of white cars from outside of the house. You know what house I'm talking about. And the other day, I thought this was very important. Photo of, I'm just going to say a white car. A cell phone photo of a computer screen showing a white car on Highway 8 in Moscow around 3:45 a.m. on November 13th, according to a clerk who found it while reviewing security footage. To me, this is a big deal. They're looking for a white car that resembles a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Now, one of you fabulous people sent this to me or made it. It's basically, if you look on the screen, a straight shot from the house to the gas station where this was captured. Now, if they're looking for a white car and they were murdered between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., and this was captured at 3:45 a.m., that might be the white car you're looking for. So let's see. You notice that they got Mr. Smiley off the screen. They don't let the chief talk anymore. People kept getting mad. He's laughing. Why is he smiling at this?
I noticed that too. He's always got a smile on his face when he's talking.
It's just his expression. It's just his expression. But hey, it's one less thing for him to have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can go back to stalking people now.
Take us back when investigators first started asking for video. What sources were you asking to get video from?
Well, we started looking for video the day of the crime. Officers on scene, before I even arrived, had identified certain residences in the area that had video cameras.
Okay, I'm already interrupting. I'm so glad that he said that because he said we were already asking people for their security cameras. We were already asking for all that. Some people are under the impression that it just dawned on them last week to say, hey, anybody got a camera? Can you go through it? He said, we were already asking for it. I know one guy came out. His name is Kane Franstick. I'm not pronouncing his name right, I'm sure. He said he was approached by detectives on November 14th about his security footage. So they've been collecting security footage for the last month.
We know just from past experience that security cameras, doorbell cameras, and the like are very, very commonplace now. And that's a part of our standard procedures to start looking for a possible video source in and around crime scenes. So we started the day of the crime. And then that expanded as we got more investigators to the area for assistance, and we started putting together teams. And one of our team's sole job was to go through the King Road area, associated neighborhoods, and eventually the main thoroughfares in the city of Moscow, trying to identify videos, video cameras, etc., and then contact those business owners, contact those residents, and ask for copies of that video.
Initially, there was a particular area outlined as where the priority was for asking for video. Why was that area selected?
Well, that area was selected because essentially it surrounds the King Road area, and we know that people typically have to travel to and from. We weren't trying to pigeonhole our investigation into the suspect lives in the area. We wanted to make sure that we covered all the bases. And so as we began to gather more information, we began to expand our search area. You may recall from the second press conference that we specifically put out a plea to the public for any video in the King Road area, and then we gave a defined area, and we put that area on our website as well, asking residents, hey, if you have video or if your neighbor has video, let us know so we can get a copy of that. We understand that video has a finite life and sometimes systems will start recording over themselves. So we started that process very, very early in the investigation.
Why ask the public for additional help with this white car?
Well,
okay, so he's really honing it home. Okay, he's saying, look, I wish it would have just be. I don't think he needed to really explain this. And to the people that are like, I can't believe they just started asking for camera footage. Those people don't count. Those people don't count.
Mhm.
Common sense, we know they've been investigating this since November 13th. We know that.
Yeah, since the very beginning.
Oh my God.
well, through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that.
And that's what I was afraid was going to happen. That they wouldn't get, it would go one way or another. They would get a phone call going, huh, I got your car for you, and you're going to wait till you get a look at this guy. That they were either going to get the car or they were going to get a million of them. He said, we have a list of 22,000 cars now we have to go through. 22,000 cars. And because they just brought it up to the public this week, doesn't mean they weren't already looking for the car. You see, when they go to the public, it means, okay, now we're going to ask for the public's help because we kind of got to a point where we're running out of our own resources. We're going to see if the public knows.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I just cannot believe the amount of people in this case that, well, for one, say it's going to become a cold case. Are you kidding me? Brian Enton was just talking to the vape shop guy. Are you kidding me?
No, I don't believe it's going to be a cold case at all.
They don't even know what a cold case is. I just came across an article this morning where, I mean, this woman has been missing for 15 years and they just solved it. Yep. They don't even know what cold case means. They don't even know what this means. Or, well, I wonder if they have checked the victims to see if they can find the DNA of the killer. I bet they didn't think of that. They need to be checking all the cameras. No shit.
They actually begged the victim's hands to preserve any DNA that could be on their hands.
Can you say it louder? Because the cheap seats make the loudest noise. The cheapest seats make the loudest noise. Can you say it again, Jeannie, about bagging the hands?
Well, if anybody's been following the case, they would know this information. They need to bag the victim's hands in case there is DNA there, so they can preserve it. But I mean, they pretty much do that.
But they did do that. This is not our suggestion.
Oh, hell no. They did do it.
Of course. I mean, but without all these people that, follow a case, they follow a case for 4 hot days and then they're done, and the police are sitting there going, what the hell? What do you mean? I'm going to check DNA.
I normally get my information from the news. I mean, like, I don't know. Some people could, just a suggestion maybe for some people. I don't know.
Well, though some people don't watch this show because we actually have cool AF people here that we can get together and laugh about these other people. Oh, I like when they say they need to interrogate everybody in the town. Let me tell you what, my ass I'd be on Elon Musk's next plane to live on the moon if they think they're going to interrogate my ass over something that I have nothing to do with. Interrogate the whole town. Now, Jeremy would be down for that. He would actually round people up, kind of like he would. He would start breaking people up into groups like Sammy did in Truckee, California. He would.
Oh,
Jeremy
God.
be down for that. Let's just interrogate everybody.
Fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
Okay, and there it is. He explained the significance of the white car. They're looking through 22,000 of them. They were already looking through cameras. They just have to keep reminding people, hey, check your cameras. It's been a month now. This case is still open. Like he said, not everybody follows the news. Some people are going to turn on the news over the weekend and they're going to go, even in their own town, believe it or not, and they're going to go, oh, hell, they haven't made an arrest yet? Hell, I haven't been following the case. Not everybody follows crime like we do.
True. And another thing too, if people have had cameras on that road, like business wise or houses, they can actually follow that car to wherever it goes.
Yeah, that's what they'll do. They want to figure out. They have the one. I think it's going to. Let me look. Highway 8. I think it's
Highway 8. Yeah.
Highway 8. So the next business over. They want to see what direction the car went. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And even though the DA has never prosecuted a case like this, the chief has never had anything blow up on his watch like this. I mean, a quadruple murder off campus, 4 students. This is not, I can't.
We're not talking about one victim here. We're talking about 4 victims.
We're not talking about a drive-by shooting on the south side of Chicago where they can have it solved by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
This is totally something different.
Absolutely.
This is totally something different.
Absolutely.
I don't know, my friend. This is something else. I will say honestly, I've been doing true crime a long time. This is the only case where people honestly think that the police should be telling not just more, but everything they know because the families say so. I never thought in my life I would ever see a comment like that.
No, and I mean, this is all new to the families. Like, they've never experienced anything like this before, so they don't know the protocols, right?
Is there a protocol? Because in every case we have, I say, look, they weren't prime time ready. They didn't know what was going to happen. It's new to every family in every case. Never known of a family member to get a lawyer and say, well, now they're forced to tell me everything. And then they go to their meeting and they're like, no, we're not.
Yeah, they just don't understand that. Excuse me. There's only so much that the police can say. I mean, him going out on news and the media and talking like that, like talking about his daughter and stuff. Yeah, I get that. He wants his daughter to have that attention. But to release information from the police, I don't agree with that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they do, well, I'm hoping that they do find this suspect, that when they do, they need to hold all this information to the chest, because if they don't, at trial, the defense could go after, what has been said outside the investigation.
The defense would love that because they're already
Yes.
prepared for trial. And really, the elephant in the room is, why are you telling the person that you're trying to catch how close you are behind them, how close you are? You're stalking them, right? You're stalking
Exactly.
them. You're behind them. You don't want to tell them how close. And if you look at it, right, I mean, local law enforcement, they're the ones that are talking to the public. But if you look at this list of who is involved investigating this case, you have more people with the FBI involved than local law enforcement. Moscow police has 6 detectives on staff. Those 6 detectives are working this case. The FBI has 46. You think those 46 investigators didn't think to check the cameras?
Exactly.
You think those 46 investigators can't shake up a few dudes that were walking behind Kaylee? Come on.
This needs the police need to be a one step ahead of this suspect. And when information is out there for everybody to hear, I mean, who knows if this suspect is not listening to this as well?
Of course. They are following this more heavily than Brian Enton.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the more information out there, the more the suspect's going to be one step ahead of the police.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's one thing that's brought up a lot of times, not every time, but they will talk about how heavily the criminal was following their own case.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep, of course. They want to know. They want to know what the police know, Like,
Yep.
oh, now that they know that the white car is out there, well, you think they're not going to try to hide that car or sell that car or get rid of that car some way, somehow?
Well, it's funny that you mention that, because since they went to the public looking for the car, they have 22,000 cars to go through. Where's the car? Somebody knows what car they're looking for. I think that tells us something, correct?
Yes, and nobody has come forward at all about that car or about even seeing that car. Like, if you have nothing to hide, why wouldn't you just not call the police and say, oh yeah, that's my car?
Well, I mean, 22,000 people have said, I know a white car, but where's the car? Somebody knows what car they're talking about. They know what car was outside that house on that day.
Exactly.
Law said, I heard that it was traded in at a dealership already. How would the police not know this? Why would the dealership why wouldn't every dealership in Idaho be calling the police saying somebody's here trying to trade in a 2011 Elantra? Where was that published at, Law, that they said that it was traded in?
I've seen a lot of speculation and theories about that white car. I've seen a lot, and I don't know.
Who would know? Who would know? Thank you very much for the super sticker, CR. CR stalking me with those dollars. Crazy, crazy. All right, I do appreciate it very much, CR. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you, Jeannie, for coming up today. We had a great conversation with Lana as well. And of course, with all of you, it's been a great chat. But I'm going to send everybody off into their hellacious weekend, because you know it will be, because it's the last weekend before Christmas.
Yeah, and it looks like we're gonna have some snow for Christmas.
You can keep it, Jeannie.
Well, if I get too much, I'll send some to you.
A couple of years ago, my husband and I were at a hotel, and I can't remember where, and you and I were FaceTiming, and I couldn't tell what the hell. I thought you just had a very staticky TV, Jeannie, and I felt sorry for you. And I was like, oh my God, that's a ton of snow, and you were driving in it, Jeannie.
Yeah, yes. I was recording it actually. The wind was blowing. It was bad that day. We had like a blizzard for 3 days that time. And it was like really, really bad. But
that was awesome.
I mean, we're used to that here, right? I mean, it's part of Canada.
That was a lot of snow. You don't want any more snow like that. That was a lot of, I don't do, it's like I said, in Oklahoma, I live in Tornado Alley. So, I can sleep through a tornado. So I'm like a real hypocrite when I talk about Dylan and Bethany. How can they sleep through a murder? I've slept through an F5, dude. It doesn't bother me. I walk outside and I'm like, why is there a Queen Anne chair in my front yard? Oh, we had a tornado. But in Oklahoma, when any sort of frozen precipitation comes down, we lose all common sense.
Yeah. You guys are not prepared for stuff like that.
And exactly. Country Girl said, we're having an Arctic cold front come through. Yeah, I heard it's going to be like 25 degrees on Christmas Day. We don't get weather. We get cold weather. Don't get me wrong. And it can get really cold. It's just unseasonably cold for us right now. A couple of years ago, people had their barbecue grills going Christmas Day. True story.
Oh, wow. No, ours is usually covered in snow by then.
We don't like it. We don't do it. You guys can keep it. I'm no help for you in the snow. I can help you with other things. I'm no help in the snow. But I want everyone to be careful this weekend when you're out finishing up your shopping. If there are people behind you, they're not stalking you. If they tell you Merry Christmas, they're not going to follow you home. So I want everybody to be very careful, very mindful, okay?
Oh my God, Brooks. You cracked me up.
All right, my friends. You guys are the best. Next week's going to be a crazy week for me. My son is coming in. He is in Air Force. He's in the Air Force. He's coming home. This is going to be the first time in years I've had all my children together for Christmas. So next week is going to be hit and miss on the lives. But you know the routine. Just hit the reminder. And of course, I try to post them before I go. So watch the Stalkers this weekend. Don't spend too much money. And I'll see you back here Monday. All right. You guys are the best. Have a great one.
Thanks, Brooke.